Like I said, these are a little bit more work, a little bit more time consuming, but I think it's kind of fun to do them actually. And then usually just because it's me, you don't have to do it, but I take a little bit of glue and I run it along the top of that spider as well. And at this point in the real world, I would let that sit for probably 2 or 3 hours. We're going to go ahead and speed it up. So we've let it sit, and now we're going to glue the cone in. And once again, usually I'll check again to make sure everything's cool before and it is. Run a speed up top. Also, you have to, when you get the kits, you have to punch those holes for your leads to go through. I just got a little deal that I punch them in, making sure that we line up with the terminals. Smooth that out. Then once again, in the real world, I would let this sit for probably about a half an hour. Then you're going to run you some more glue around the edge. And you take your gasket. I usually take these gaskets, and I found that the gasket's not wide enough, or not, I don't know what they do, but it doesn't fit exactly around, so I cut it. I just take and cut one of the, because I want it to get out. I want this gasket to be out as close to the edge as I can get it. Just drop the gasket on there. And what I usually do, if I have one sitting around like I happen to have today, I take another 12 and I set it on top of here. Reason being is I'm not turning it upside down is because I don't want all my, because I've still got to I've still got to epoxy all that stuff together. So let this one sit for a second. We'll go back to this one. Once again, that speaker would have sat there and dried for 24 hours. But we're going to hurry it up today. We're doing like, is it emerald? We're speeding things up. So then at this point, we're getting ready to solder the leads on this bad boy. Pull the tape off. Very important, once again, make sure that the lead on your left goes into the terminal, or goes on the left side, and don't crisscross them, because I've done that before too. It doesn't sound real good when you do that. Well, naturally, it's going to give me a hard time. But normally not. Sometimes it seems like when JBL makes a kit, they make that, they get an extra lot of, there it goes. Then all you're going to want to do is just clip that excess lead off of there. Flip it back over. Pull your spacer out. It's trash at this point. And then you're going to want to run some signal through it and make sure it works. Make sure we don't blow it up. There you go. And you're ready to put the dust cap on it. And JBL, for some reason, I don't know why, they don't really dress these little leads here too well. So what I usually do is I take my cap and I mark a spot right here because it doesn't go down flush, and then I cut out a little groove. And it fit down on there. Then I take like a couple of washers, just tape them together, just have something just to weight the cap down with. Key to that is once you start around, don't stop. If you do, it's... So there's the JBL finished. Just speed it up a little bit. All right, now we're going to take this one. You're going to need to poke your leads through these holes. I know I'm probably boring some of you guys to tears, but trust me, when I was sitting out there, I never thought I'd be doing this 20 years later. It's been very good to me, too. Basically, to kind of just let you know what happened to me, I went by the recone room one day at Showco. Guy was sitting in there who was our reconer. He was about to go up front and take a different position, equipment manager. He goes, "Hey, you want to learn how to recone?" And I'm like, well, I guess. I'd been there like maybe 3 or 4 months. This was when I'd come in off the road and was doing some shop work. And he goes, "Okay," and he set me down and did one and said, "Okay, bye." And that's how I got started doing it. So, kind of just set me down, and I usually take something. I've got a little thing at the shop that I do, but I bend these. You need to bend those leads down because you're going to want to hit them with your epoxy as well. They're sticking up now. We just bend them down. Then once again, see it's moved just a little bit, but it's still. Check it one more time, and then this is the epoxy. Rich buys it for me by the case. It's just DevCon 5. It's just a 2-part epoxy. They EV sells the epoxy. You can buy it in 2-part, but I like this. And I just take a styrofoam cup. I mean, you can imagine how many of these things I do in a year. Think about it. I mean, I probably this year will run. I probably have 5 or 600 recones this year. You know, because we do blow speakers, and it's nothing that I think you can ever. As long as my saying to the whole deal is, as long as there's a cone speaker, there's going to be a blown speaker. It's just the way it is. So, just take this and I just squeeze it into the cup. Take and stir it up a little bit. You don't have a whole lot of time to work with this stuff. It says 5 minutes. Wrong. You got about maybe 3. And it starts really getting hot too. It heats up when you start mixing it. So give that a good little stir. Then we just buy these, they're Monoject 412 dental syringes. Usually I'll do these things, I'll do them in like 2s or 3s, because sometimes I can always get 2 out of 1 tube, but sometimes I can get 3. So I would have, like if I was doing this at my shop, I'd have probably 3 sitting here, just do them all at once. And take and clip your end off the syringe. And you just go down into that gap, because you got to get the spider and the cone and the form are all, you're adhering them together. This point also, you got to be real careful that you don't get too much down there, because I have epoxied the whole that fixture in there. When I was first learning to do it, I got too much in there, and that son of a gun will not come out. I always just try to get a good shot down there. And like I said, it doesn't take this stuff long to set up. You'll see it'll start getting real hard to move, and then it'll turn yellow. I'll just leave it there and let it do it, and I'll show you guys. But anyway, so at that point, this thing's got to set for about, usually I let them set for about 15 minutes, but it won't take it too long. I'm going to go ahead and solder the leads on it. Once again, you just trim off the excess. Usually, what I do is I take something and just kind of feel that epoxy. It's still setting up. We're going to have to leave it for a second. That's a good time. Anybody got any questions? We'll just let it sit there for a minute. Come on, you guys got to have a question. Yes. Oh, yeah. I went to and got certified in 1987. I had, like I said, I'd been reconing, about a year and a half before I went to school. Matter of fact, when I got out there, she was like, the lady, and God rest her soul, Terry's dead now, but she was the customer service. She taught recone school, and she was like, "You've been doing this before, hadn't you?" I'm like, "Well, because they told me don't tell them you've been reconing." I'm like, No, I really haven't." She goes, "Look, don't lie to me. You've been doing this, hadn't you?" I go, "Yeah." She said, "So I actually didn't even have to go really and I didn't have to scrape. I didn't have to do any of that. She put me over and doing her warranty work for her while I was there, so I got a pretty, because I already knew what was going on. Choco paid for it. Yeah, actually, the recone school is, if you have a service center, then you have to have, somebody's got to send you. Somebody's got to, an authorized service center has to send you, but it's free. You just have to pay your way and, your hotel. But the school itself's free. I think now it's about, when I went it was 3 days. I think now it's 4. Because now they have the Eon class part of it, because it's the amplifier, built-in amplifier and speaker. But I hope at some point to go back out there. And like I said, kind of backing up on Terry, it's a real tragic thing that happened to her. She was going home. Her and her husband were having some problems, and he caught her on the way home. She was on her way home from work, and he blocked her in his van and pulled her out of the car and stabbed her about 20 times and cut her throat right there on the street in Van Nuys. And he's in prison right now serving life without parole. Pleaded guilty. It devastated me. It devastated everybody that ever had anything to do with her, because she was so cool. She was such a cool lady. And I guarantee if you called out there, Terry would get back with you. If she didn't know the answer, she'd find it out. And it just, it was pretty. It tore us up. Anybody that ever knew her, but real sad, because she would. This is how much she meant to them. She'd been with them for like 30 years. They shut the whole plant down. They shut down for the day for her funeral. So that showed you how much respect they had for her. Neat lady. So, yeah, it's tacked up pretty good. And then this whole thing, if you didn't put too much epoxy on it, should just slide right out of there. So you can see that you made put them all together. Once again, we'll run a little signal through it. Sounds good. We'll dust cap it. You can see that stuff got really